Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for coming and being a part of this on this Wednesday. Great way to start your January with some thought leadership from OEN community. Well, we're going to get started in just 1 minute. We've got a packed house today of about 30 people who said they're interested in learning with us, so super excited about that. If you want, you can put your name and your company and where you're calling in or where you're Zooming from in the chat. We'd love to know where folks are at. I am Riley O'Brien. I am the Associate Executive Director of OEN, and I'm here in my laundry room, as always, in Southeast Portland. We're excited to have Sarah Norris and Kara Toronto also with OEN on this call as well. If you have any OEN questions, feel free to send those into private chat to us during this event. We're happy to answer any questions you have about our organization and the programs that we offer. We are very excited to host Business Essentials programming. We are a team of four, and we 100% don't know everything about starting and maintaining and growing a business. And so we rely on our community of thought leaders to provide information that can help as you're building out your business throughout the state of Oregon and beyond. I'm super excited to have Sam here today. Samantha Rogers is the founder of Nimble AF, has an extensive background in supporting sales and supporting small businesses. And so we're really excited to have her here to teach you all what she knows and hopefully give you a leg up on the competition after you leave this program. We're going to be going until about 10:15, and then we'll open it up for questions that folks will be able to open up their microphones for. But if you have immediate questions, you can welcome to put them in the group chat. And if they're necessary, then I'll interrupt her as she goes along, and we will continue the program from there. So, Sam, you want to take it away?
Hey, welcome. I am so excited to do this. I love teaching. I love sharing excuse me, this topic in particular. I just want to point out I have like three different drinks on my desk today, because I've had the flu for the last 2 weeks. So, I'm gonna try and get through all this without coughing, but if I have to mute, that is why. Um, but I would welcome. I'm very excited to have you guys here. I've got a lot of information to go through. We're going to be talking about sales and how sales meets community and how you can grow your business and the piece of your business by building that community connection. And then before we Sorry, I was just looking in the chat to kind of see where people are coming through. I would love to know in the chat real quick. It's not necessary, but I would love to know if you are using ChatGPT for your business or some other AI tool. Not required, but I'm very curious. So if you wouldn't mind just dropping it in the chat and um, we're gonna kind of start there today. So I'm gonna jump into this. Let me just look at my screen. Um, sales is sales can be scary. Sales is kind of something that as entrepreneurs we usually get into business because we are really passionate about an idea. And sales can oftentimes be the thing that we get nervous about, scared about, and end up having to kind of figure out how to navigate that piece and sell this thing that we are absolutely obsessed about. And we're going to kind of talk about that today and how to move beyond that and how to come at sales and building your revenue from a heart and value centered place that builds consistency over the long term. So let me just get there we go. That's me. Why me? So I've been in business for about 25 years. I've been in sales for over 25 years now. That's kind of scary to say. I started actually in selling what wedding dresses and wine in college. Those were my two things that I sold, which sounds kind of random, but I got really good at understanding what people wanted and how to just come at a sales conversation as two people talking and trying to discover whether or not what I had is the right fit for them, as opposed to me just trying to sell just for the sake of making money. Um, I have spent a lot of my time in CPG, specifically in food and beverage, but have also built businesses in service industries and coaching. And now, 25 years later, I find that I have this incredible um, background of experience in building recurring revenue businesses. So that's my focus. I love building recurring revenue businesses. I love kind of figuring out what that looks like, whether it's a consumer packaged good, some other type of product, or a service. That's kind of where my zone of genius lies. Um, I'm also a boxer. That's why I've got wraps on my hands, and I'm training for my first fight this year, which is kind of cool. Um, so that's just a little bit about me. So really the real difference when we're talking about building sales and is really consistency and connection. If you are able to post or send an email or make a connection to your audience once a day, 5 days a week, you are going to be at the 1% of businesses. And it's about consistency. It's not about perfection. It's not about um, making sure that it's absolutely right. In the reality is the most of the time, what you're putting out there is not going to be perfect. It's like if you are completely perfectly proud of round one or version one, you probably waited too long to get it out into the world. And so when we are sharing and talking about who we are, what our product is, what our service is, how you want to approach the world, and how you want the world to interact with you, having some consistency is going to drive you farther than spending hours crafting the one perfect thing. Um, and and it you see that in your industries, you could probably come up with someone or some other company, or maybe it's you who's in there and being consistent, and you see somebody next to you who's got the same product, they're in the same market, but they have very different results. And the reality is that those results often come down to consistency. Um, and they have made the choice to be in the public eye and be consistent, even when their audience was an audience of one. It's really important to put your stake in the sand and share with the world this obsession and passion that you have and the reason you got into business, and just keep sharing it, because it is not about going viral. It is about building blocks step by step. And that scalable result is consistent engagement and prioritizing consistent engagement across any platform, whatever platform you choose, whether that's in-person sales, if you're showing up to markets, if you are sending emails, if you are, your presence is a website or you're on social media. Just having that consistent engagement is what is going to be the building blocks that is going to give you scalable results. Okay. I I feel like when we look at what other people are doing and we can kind of get FOMO, there's a little bit of why is that person so much more successful or selling so much, or why did this business blow up where another business didn't? And I am going to hammer this in a little bit, but consistency is the unfair advantage. It's not that someone else's product is better or service is better. Most of the time, there are products and services that are better than the ones that have blown up that are never going to blow up because in the back end, they're lacking consistency. And using the obsession that got you into business, this thing that you're passionate about, and and then taking that and using structure to sustain and build consistency is going to drive your business faster and farther than anything else. And we have a framework, using a solid framework and a clear process, and one that fits you and fits your business. It's not about creating 50 pieces of content a day or a week. But it's really about saying, I'm going to do these things every week, week in and week out, whether that's one email a week or three emails a week or five posts a week or one post a week. It's really about putting your stake in the ground and having the consistency. It is not pesto or avocado or hummus. Sorry, I just read that. Um, I put all food pictures on here, one because I'm a foodie, but two, last year I sold a meal delivery service business and that I built, and I was obsessed in the same way I hope you're obsessed with your business. But this is actually a ratatouille with a green sauce. It is a basil sauce, but that's yeah. But good guesses. I like the avocado hummus is an interesting one. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that business, and we're going to dive into how I built this business and how I served clients and how I found the clients that fit my business. In the meantime, you just get to enjoy beautiful food and hopefully not get too hungry. So what we're building a system. Sales is a system, and there's different layers to it. There is understanding that sales has a particular path that it goes on. It's like a skeleton, and you want to understand what that is. We're going to talk about what that is in a moment. And then you're going to build in your passion and your obsession and your love and who you want to serve and how you want to serve them and what your values are on top of that skeleton so that you're still following a system, but you've got all of the emotion and the love and the obsession built on top of that system. And now it is an engine and it runs, and you know what you're talking about and how you're talking about it and how you want your clients to feel. Um, it's built over time. It's built, it's designed with intention, and it's repetitive. I think one of the hardest things that I've come across when I work with people is that this piece can get really boring. And content is not meant to be new every week. It's not, you shouldn't be trying to recreate the wheel, wondering what you're posting, wondering how it's working. It is, it is a math problem and it is a system, and at some point it's going to get boring. And if it's getting boring, it's probably going to start working if you're not already seeing that momentum. Because it is about consistency, and consistency is boring. Yeah, it is the one thing I see. Yeah, consistency is going to build revenue. Um, So we're going to prioritize ongoing connection. We're going to prioritize making sure clients feel valued and understood. So here's kind of the transactional skeleton that I would love you to think about. absolutely necessary and also not enough. So, first, there's your reach. The reach are people that are out in the world that may or may not be clients, that may want to connect with you. Um, and you don't know if they want to connect with you, but you want to reach out to them. And often those people are found if you have a brick and mortar, they're the people who come into your shop, who maybe didn't know you existed or were on the street. When you show up to pop-ups or markets, these are the people walking by you. When you are showing up on social media, these are the people that might see your reels or your posts. They're not seeing your stories, and we're going to talk about that, but they're seeing your reels and getting a glimpse of like, ooh, do I want to get to know this person or this business a little bit more? Do I want to see what this is? And so you're reaching out and you're putting your feelers out in all different ways. Then you're inviting them. So you're inviting them to connect. If you're in person, it's that connection could be as simple as a smile. It could be a handshake. It could be if you're standing in a market and you're standing behind a booth, you are trying to catch that person's eye and say hello and get them to say hello back so they walk over to your booth. Um, you are inviting them if you're in social media. You're inviting them to go to your page, to look at your profile, to hopefully click some buttons and see what's what, or scroll through your feed, maybe even jump into your stories and see what this person and this business is all about. And then you're connecting. So the connection is where on social media the stories are going to come into play. That's where you really make a connection with your clients. Um, that's where, and then you'll find like carousels on social media are specifically Instagram is a place where you're making connections and you have an opportunity to educate because people have seen your reels and they've been invited and now they are like, oh, this is interesting. I'm going to take the time to look at a carousel or take the time to look at your stories. If they are on your website, you're inviting them. Hopefully, you have an opt-in on your website. You're inviting them through the opt-in. Um, you're inviting them through the opt-in and you're connecting with them through email. And now you have an opportunity to connect with them via email, which is so powerful. Email is in depending on who you ask, somewhere around 4,000% more will bring you 4,000% more revenue than any other form of marketing. Someone who has given you their email, and we all know what that looks like. We all have emails that are filling our inbox. But somebody who likes you enough to give you their email is saying, I want to hear from you and I want to know what you're about. And so we have those opportunities to connect. And then you have the offers. And if you bring out the offer too soon, if you are trying to sell to someone immediately when they give you their email, or you're trying to sell to somebody as soon as you see them walk by your booth and you're just like, "Hey, come buy this." And they have no idea who you are. They have no idea what the connection is. Um, they're not likely to buy. You might get 3% of them. But you're not going to build your audience into um, into really investing in who you are and what you do. And that's really what you want to do. And it doesn't matter if you sell salsa or you sell a $10,000 coaching product, coaching service. It is all about understanding that you've got to make some connection. You've got to reach out to them. You've got to invite them to see what you're about. You've got to connect with them once they want to see what you're about. And then you can give them an offer to work with you, buy from you. Excuse me. Okay. I love sales. I got into sales very young. Um, one of the things that I get a lot of when I work with people is they talk about sales being scary. There's a fear of rejection. There's a fear of feeling salesy or what we might associate as like a used car salesman type of vibe. Um, a fear of doing it wrong. And really, what it comes down to, like anything else in this world, when we have to jump into a skill that we do not have, it feels scary. And if you are an entrepreneur or you're working for a brand or a business and you all of a sudden have this passion and obsession, you're like, this is what we're doing, this is what we're selling. I want the world to know about this because I'm obsessed with it. But now you have to sell it. And that's hard. Um, and it's really what I like to reframe for people when we are yeah, missing puzzle pieces. It feels like a missing puzzle piece. That's a good way to put it, Nicole. Um, it feels like we need to be a salesy, maybe cheesy, uncomfortable person. But let me reframe this for you. A sales conversation is an opportunity to figure out if you are a good fit or if they are a good fit for you, not the other way around. If you have if you have a product or a service and you're having a conversation with someone, think about trying to see if they're the right fit for your product and not trying to fit you or your product into their life. Because the reality is not everybody's going to buy your product or service. And you want people who are so obsessed and happy and thrilled with whatever it is that you gave them, that you have sold them. You don't want to sell to the people who are going to half-ass your purchase, who are going to buy maybe because they feel like they have to. You want the ideal customer. And it's your job in a sales conversation to ask questions that help you determine whether or not they're the right fit for your business or your product or your service. And it's okay to say to someone, hey, it's been a great conversation, but I don't think you're the right fit. And that is a very powerful place to come from because the more you're able to ask questions in a sales conversation, the more you are going to be able to more quickly determine the right customer for you and the wrong customer for you. And say, oh, great, you're not right. That's okay. Not everybody is going to be your customer. And really try and reframe how you approach those conversations. Okay. I had mentioned this a little bit earlier. Sales is a math problem. Um, I love math and I'm really good at it. So when I was first presented with this idea that sales is a math problem, I was working for an insurance company right after college. And I was selling insurance. And so talk about being as salesy and cheesy and you know, a used car salesman that you could possibly be. Um, and but one of the things that they did is they put all of their sales agents through a Harvard sales training program. And while I had already been in sales and had a good personality for sales and was comfortable doing it, I had never put the math behind me. And the math is really powerful. When we talk about math, we're talking about conversions. So for every five people that come into contact with your business, that you get to have a conversation with about buying your product or service, three of them are actually going to be interested. Only one of them is going to buy. And again, I want to reframe that you're not getting four rejections. You are getting closer to your yes. And it can be really hard to see how it feels like a rejection. It sucks. I don't even know how else to say it. But it feels like a rejection. It feels hard and it sucks. And you know, we don't like, as humans, we don't like feeling rejected. We don't like no's. But the more you do this and the more you get comfortable having conversations with people and then people saying a no and just brushing your shoulder off and being great. Now I am closer to a yes. And the yes is all that matters. And so what this turns out to is about 20% of the people who come into contact with your business, who get to the point where you are connecting with them, about 20% of those people are going to say yes. And so when you are doing sales, there is a volume opportunity. So if you have a product and you are selling your product in a market, if you are only showing, and I know like I'm going to use Portland and the Portland market scene as an example. The Portland market scene, I think they have 12 markets a week, some ridiculous number of markets, right? And if you go to different markets, you'll see that there are multiple, the same vendors show up to a lot of the markets because it's a volume game. The more opportunities you have to sell your product and to show up, the bigger your sales are going to be. So if you're only showing up to one market a week and you're not hitting your sales numbers, it's probably because you're not able to you don't have your business and your product in front of enough people. If you're selling a service and a big part of your service of selling is your relationship building, but you are not networking enough, you are not getting out in public, you are not um, showing up to places that your potential customers might be, you're not going to make the sales. That 20% might still hold true, but you're only connecting with 10 people a day or a week instead of 100 people a week or a day. And that is a big shift in what your sales looks like. And so when you're thinking about how you are selling, who you are selling to, start thinking about how often you are selling. And if you are one of the primary drivers of sales in your business, that should be the number one thing that you are doing every day or every week if you're able to time block that. Sales needs to be at the top of your decision tree and task list and just getting out and having conversations and um, thinking about social media and thinking about that. But then we have this piece of where community fits. Um, Community reduces resistance. And what I mean by that is if you are just selling, but you don't think about who's buying your product, how they're using it, what they love, what you love, either your reasons for building this beautiful business, um, how you are, what your shared language is, what your proximity is to your customers, how you're connecting to your customers, you're still going to build sales, but you are not going to build momentum. And building a repeated proximity, whether that is online or in person, whatever that piece looks like for you, you want to have a repeated proximity where you are consistently touching your clients and your potential clients. You want to have a shared language where you are showing up consistently with the same language, same values, same conversations, and that was going to build trust over time. And it is something that you repeat every day, every week, every month. And that is what builds trust, which then builds visibility, which then builds community. And it, again, is this layering effect. um, that is going to be a building block because this is a long game. This is not, business is not going to be a 6 or 12 month process. We get into this for the long game and how do we build trust over time? And it's going to take time. Okay. So now we're getting into my one of my favorite parts. The real problem, why sales and content aren't working. Really, it comes down to generic messaging. If you are selling to moms with toddlers, and if I asked you who your ideal client is, and you tell me moms with toddlers or entrepreneurs or female founders or and that's all you can tell me about who your ideal client is, you are not creating messaging that is specific enough. And messaging has to do two things. It acts as a filter, and it's going to filter into two places. The people who are absolutely your customers, who are your ride or die, who buy your stuff, who are there. And they have different levels from the absolutely obsessed to the I like this product, I'm buying it consistently. And then the other place that they filter out to is these are not my people. And if your messaging is too generic, you're not going to get enough of either. You're going to have people who are unclear about your messaging, who are unclear who your product is for, who are unclear about how they should interact with your product or service. And if you are the founder on this call today and you are finding yourself being the one that does all the translating, who is the one that does every piece of that connection, um, you will get to a certain point because you are the founder, you are obsessed, and you are amazing, and you will build sales through that. But in the long run, you are going to fall, you're going to start seeing sales drop off because you cannot be the only one that is translating who this is for and what it's for and how it works. And you have to get to the point where you are able to share quickly and concisely and clearly who this product is for so that the client or potential client is not having to do a lot of work in order to figure out if you are the right person or the right product or the right service for them. Okay. This is where my favorite thing in the world comes in. Not in the world, but in business. This is this is an ICP. I'm curious in the chat, does anyone have an ideal client profile that they use to write their messaging? So some people might call this an avatar, a sales page. Some people might call it demographics. Maybe you'll get some psychographics in there. Um, an ideal client profile. It is, I like the yes, but I could always be better for sure. And it's a cycle. An ideal client profile is a document. When I build these for clients, they're usually 25 to 30 pages long, which feels like an overkill. But I'm going to share with you what we do and how we do it, and I'm going to give you my guided document on how to build your own. So it is a great piece of work to have, but it's not about demographics, it's not about psychographics, it's not about like everyone is my customer. This is going so much deeper, and you want to talk about not just who the client is, but what their values are, what scares them, where they are, where they're at in their life cycle. Um, what music are they listening to? What products do they like to buy? Where do they travel? And if you're selling a product that has nothing to do with travel. And it's like, well, where does this fit in? If you start looking at brands that you really like that have blown up big, they are not just talking about the one thing that they sell. They are making connections with things that are adjacent to what they sell or similar to what they sell. I'm going to use Headley and Bennett for one as an example in this conversation right now. Headley and Bennett makes aprons. Up until they came out, I feel like the apron industry was the most boring industry in the world. But she's come in and her videos, both on Headley and Bennett and on the founders page, her content is all about making a connection with food, showing your family passions, showing up it with family and friends and travel and all of these different things. Sure, an apron you associate with food, but she's almost never saying it's time to buy my aprons. She's always saying, check out what I'm cooking today. Check out where I went with my kids. Check out what my home renovations look like. And I'm going to do that while I'm wearing one of my aprons. And that is so clear who she's selling to. She's selling to moms primarily that are obsessed with cooking, that want to make good food, that have small children, that are building a life that they are love and they are obsessed with, that are traveling or want to travel, have aspirations to travel. And all of the language is all directed to that and almost never directed to a hard sale. In fact, she's probably selling less than 10% of the time is a hard sale of buy my stuff. So I'm answering a question. How do you do that with more service-based or serious type business? Absolutely. Nicole, will you tell me again what your business is? I'm kind of curious.
So I'm a conflict resolution belonging expert. So I do everything based out of conflict resolution with belonging and how people communicate and connect through their basically how they through their personalities. So it's a little more abstract. So I'm listening to what people are saying and then understanding how that's connecting and then resolving the conflict around that. So there's a lot of things like toxic personalities,
Okay.
disability, equity, all those kinds of things. But that's just not it. It's just people in general as well. So it's a
Yeah.
lot more abstract, but a lot more intensity. So how do you bring the personal into that without
Okay.
getting too personal? Because it's very broad as well.
Yeah, totally. Okay. So when we're talking about more of service or serious businesses, and I'll use Nicole's business as an example, I want you to think about the touch points when you have a conversation with a client and you are thinking about and you walk away from that conversation um and there was a conversation about equity and where that fits in between two people and what that situation is. And I'm kind of pulling this out of the air, so bear with me on this one. But there is an opportunity for you to sit down and, depending on how you like to communicate, for me personally, I use voice memos. One of the reasons I use voice memos is because it doesn't just get the words that are in my head across, but it gets how I speak and how I communicate across. And talk about that piece in an abstract way that doesn't call out specific clients, that is really about, you know, a learning opportunity or an education piece or an emotional touch point or an idea of like where that person, one of the people in that conflict um saw what the other person was talking about, or right, like saw the other person's point of view and some aha moment. And record my suggestion, record that in voice memo. And if you use ChatGPT, you're going to take that and load that voice memo as a transcript into ChatGPT and then ask ChatGPT to help pull out content and conversations and ways that are either email or social media or for your website to help you build this conversation of content from your business and your real life experience. And I do this for my clients and I use ChatGPT and I build out one conversation for every client that I have. And I load transcripts. I interview them, I talk to them, I take content that they've created and I transcribe it. And AI is amazing. It can also create the most god-awful content that you've ever read, and where you read it and you're like, this is AI. That's what am I doing? Why am I doing this? But the beauty of AI is that it's trainable and it's teachable. And you can use ChatGPT and a single chat conversation to build a database of your content that then you can pull from. Um, Totally good question on I have not used Copilot. I've not used Perplexity. I do use Claude. I use ChatGPT in particular. I use both of them, but ChatGPT is my primary because it will help pull data. So Claude does not pull in, it's not connected to the World Wide Web, so it's not pulling data, it's writing for you. So it depends on what your goals are. I do a lot of both where I'm writing and I am pulling data as well. Um, oh, cool. That's neat. I have not connected Claude. So I like that Claude is not connected to the internet because I will take stuff that I write or I voice memo and I will use Claude to write articles and Substacks and I will voice memo those and then I'll load them into Claude and I'll say, "Hey, take this and put it into um, an article format for me." So it kind of I go back and forth between the two. Um, but for my clients and for most of the work that I do, I use ChatGPT and I get obsessed about building out the client profiles for all of my clients and for all of the work that I do, including my own. Um, and it really drives work, simplifies your hours, and drives content really well. And the worksheet that I have today that we're gonna go over in a little bit is actually a building your own chat GPT. And you can use Claude, you can use whatever AI tool you like, but it's really about building it out with an AI tool so that you can build this database of content. And anytime, like Nicole and anyone else on this call, I feel really strongly about voice memos, but anytime you are in a car and you are thinking about a topic that is important to you, important to your business, or yours is something that like lit you up and you are just on fire, record it, load it into your chat GPT equivalent and have it at like and just tell ChatGPT, even if you're not doing anything with it right now, hey, I recorded this. Keep this as part of the content that you're pulling from. And so that when I'm asking you for content, you're getting my voice and my tone and my values. And then you can go back. And if that particular piece of content was on something really important, you can ask it to then pull email content and social media plans from that information. Um, Sorry, I was reading contents, questions for a second. Yeah, there's so many. I Firefly or Scribed. So on meetings, I typically don't do meetings in Zoom. I do meetings in Google Chat and or Google Meet, and then I use Gemini because I have to tell you, it by far, and I have like three other bots that follow me into every meeting, which drives me crazy. But Gemini creates the best transcripts and the best notes, and if you're paying for a Google account, it's free. Um, and I use those transcripts and I load those transcripts into the account profiles in ChatGPT for every single client. And it just builds on how they talk, what they talk about, what their values are, the things that are important to them. So, um, again, I think I said this earlier, but if your customer has to work hard to understand you and understand why you're for them, they're just not going to buy. Okay. And I feel like I jumped ahead a little bit and talked a little bit about this. So I'm going to move through this really quickly. Um, I think on this page, what I really want to bring home again is that filtering attention and really quickly identifying who your brand is for and who it is not for is probably one of the probably the most important piece of content or information on this page. The faster you can do that, the faster you can filter out who it's for and who it's not for, the faster you get to the next person and you continue to grow your sphere of influence. Um, if you're paying for a Google account or Gmail, if you pay for Gmail, Gemini and Gemini Notes in Google Meets is free. I was saying like it's not an extra service. Like I have three other bots that follow me everywhere, and I don't use them. I have to have my assistant get them away from me. Okay, so let's do a quick exercise. I would love to know, and I'd love if you can drop it in the chat. And if you don't mind, if you didn't already tell me what your business is, just tell me real quick, like what product or service you sell, and just answer like my best customer hires me because they hesitate because and they stay because. And I'm just gonna like we're gonna do like 5 minutes. Um, and if you want to share, please drop it in the chat. I'd love to talk a little bit about it. I haven't tried Perplexity. Okay, Heidi, thank you. And Barbara. Okay. Heidi, They hire me because of my reputation for doing great work and being easy to work with. They hesitate because I have a new business with different staff and management. Okay. And they stay because my new team lives up to my personal reputation. Okay. So, Heidi,
Yeah, my biggest challenge right now is getting clients to come over with me and stay with us
okay,
because my team doesn't have the same experience and reputation, but I do.
got it. And you're finding that once they do come over, they are really happy with what they are getting from you.
Yeah.
Do you have a like a database or a Word document with reviews and referrals?
No.
No. One of the things that people really love to see is social proof. And so, um, do you send out emails on a regular basis?
No, I'm learning a whole lot here today.
Do you have an email? Do you have a customer database?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Um, Sending out, so commercial architecture, it's not a product, it's not like a consumer good, right? You've got a very specific application. So when I think about communicating via email for a business like that, I think about starting with like a monthly email, monthly newsletter, monthly email. And it can be not casual in terms of like loosey goosey, but it doesn't have to be overthought and over designed. Um, but really kind of hitting in on what I get from you, what I get just from what you're saying and what you wrote is that there is a storyline behind some changes that have happened recently in your business
Yeah.
and sharing what those are and why it's better and why your clients that did transition with you or have so far are staying with you or have enjoyed their experience through social proof, through some reviews, can really go a long way to bring people in and get their attention.
Right. I like
And kind of sharing what that story is in just a simple like email, not overly produced, almost like what I like to call like for monthly emails or weekly emails, I call those love letters to our dream clients. Like it's really and it maybe that sounds a little sappy for a commercial architecture firm, but you want to attract whoever that dream client is, and you want them, for lack of a better word, you want them to fall in love with you and who you are and what you do and why you do it and the team behind you that is making it, helping you make it all happen. Um, and I think there's an opportunity to share that um, in a way that just says like, this is what's happened. This is what's changing. This is why I did it. Um, and then spend some time in those emails once a month, highlighting a different person on your team and the value that they bring to you and to your team and to their clients.
great. I love it.
Um,
Thank you.
yeah. I like the suggestion also to peer events and referrals. Do you have a referral program, Heidi?
Nope.
No. A referral program is also a great way um, to say, you know, if you're happy with our service, this is a great way to show your your show your value and share. It's a great way for them to show you how much they value you. Um, and having a conversation about that. That's a little bit deeper, but there's some great ways to kind of transition into how do we have those referral conversations, calling up clients and talking to them just about who you want to meet. And, and it not necessarily just clients, but clients and other connections. For anyone who's got a service business, um, having conversations about with people who just might know other people who might need your services. I'll give you like one quick example. My virtual assistant, works with other businesses and other people as well. And she called me up because there's another fractional COO who is looking for to have conversations with other fractional executives who specifically in the marketing space. And it was a great way for her to reach out to my assistant and just say, "Hey, do you know anyone that fits this need, that like fits this niche? And I would love to have conversations with them." And that becomes a very reciprocal 20-30 minute coffee conversation of these are the clients that I'm looking for, these are the clients that they're looking for, and just making that connection on a professional level of, how can we potentially help each other out. And so if you've got people in your network that maybe provide an adjacent service or a similar service, even calling them up and saying, "Hey, I'd really like to know more about who you want as an ideal customer. Like, who are you looking for?" So that when I'm talking to my clients, I know I have you in the back of my head when X comes up. Um, I think that's a really important conversation. And 98% of people are going to come back to you with wow, can you tell me about who your client is? Like, who do you want to work with? And the people that don't come back to you with that are not going to be worth your time. Don't call them again. But we all want to help each other. And like, we love nothing more than helping each other. Um, and so if we can do that, then most of those conversations will end up being reciprocal conversations. Um, okay. My best customer hires me product design service. They failed with cheaper solutions. I love that. And they're afraid to spend a lot of money. Um, and they stay because their backs are against the wall. I would love to know a little bit more about that. Um, who is that? Matthew. I'm guessing they get into a situation where they they get
Hey,
into deadlines.
sorry, this is Matthew. Yeah, I was the one who wrote that. Generally speaking, they go with cheaper product designers because I help build products, manufacturing specifically. And yeah, they go with the cheap one and they have problems when they go to the actual manufacturing process.
Mhm.
And so they have to like backpedal. And my problem and my question for you is how do I get out of sort of being the emergency solution to
Yeah,
like the first solution? Because
totally.
it's expensive to like wait for clients to be at their and have to go to with me at the very end of having tried.
Yeah. Um, so do you ever have conversations, even just with yourself or maybe with peers, about what happens when someone comes to you first? Like what are the perceived versus actual cost benefits or analysis? Like what happens when someone works with you and chooses you first? And this is just my guess, is that things are on time, things are properly designed, your CAD files or whatever you're using um, are designed for manufacturing or they fit what the manufacturer wants. Am I kind of going down the right path there?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. The truth of it is that the folks who know me hire me again.
Yep.
My problem is that I have trouble finding new clients who haven't seen my services. Like, how do I express my value, um,
Hmm.
you know, before actually seeing my value?
Totally. Do you have a client or more than one that you could call and ask to get on a phone call with you and talk to you about their experience and not just their experience coming to you after having a bad experience elsewhere, but maybe reframe it for them, ask them to reframe it in like, what would have happened if you came to me first? And listen to their language and their story and what is important to them because you can kind of list that stuff off and probably have that conversation yourself, but if you can record their conversation with you and their storyline and what comes up for them and then use that to create sales content, whether it's on your website or in email or on social media, if that's applicable. Um, but I'm guessing your primary driver for sales is probably your website. Is that right?
Yeah, great question. I don't know why they hesitate.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, ask them. So if it's okay that you don't know, but if you've got a couple clients that you can call up and say, "Hey, I know you've had a good experience with me. You've been happy with me. I would really love to ask you some questions and hopefully be able to transcribe it. Like you want that information. But I would love to jump on a Zoom or a Google Meet or meet them in person and record the conversation so that you can understand from their perspective. And if you can get two or three of those specifically, you can then take that content. If you use AI, you can dump it into your AI tool and ask AI specifically, I'm trying to understand why clients are not coming to me first and I want to be able to create language around why they should be coming to me first, what I should help them understand, what I need to share and get super specific on your prompting. You can also translate it, read it through yourself and pull that information out. It's going to take you longer. Um, but those conversations and just asking your clients what it is and if they had done it sooner, like if they had come to you first, what do they think the results would have been? Both financially, stress, emotional, like all of those pieces. Because probably at the end of the day, even though you are more expensive, um, they've probably spent way more money because they made a poor choice first and then they made the right choice.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Tiffany, clients hire me because their entrepreneur need help seeing what their future could be like. They hesitate because they know they have a blind spot. They stay because my process provides clarity and is fun. My best client is a leader um, of a team who hires me because they want their team to be more cohesive and productive. They hesitate because they maybe received poor coaching or training, and they stay because I'm results driven focused, and the team leader will make progress together. Tiffany, what do you do? Tell me.
Hi, Samantha or Sam. This is Tiffany. And so Think Ahead is my business consultancy. And so I offer seasoned HR advice, leadership development that sticks, and focused coaching.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Um,
So my
I'm gonna ask you to say that again.
Okay. So I love to serve entrepreneurs, and I know that was the first kind of ICP that you read through.
Yep.
So seasoned HR advice,
Okay.
leadership development that sticks, and focus coaching. So those are my three different services.
What, excuse me, what, what are the outcomes?
For an entrepreneur, it's going to be clarity and joy. And for a team and a leader, it's also cohesion and clarity.
Okay.
Mhm.
I hear that you are trying to be very concise,
Mhm.
but it's also so concise that it's not clear what the solution is and why someone would work with you.
Right.
So, sorry, I'm just thinking about this one.
Okay. No, I appreciate the insights and the feedback here. It's always a work in progress. I appreciated everybody's comments like, well, it's my first try and we're still working on it. And I think
Totally.
that's true in our life.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
I wonder, have you ever had conversations with your client when you have a sales conversation with a client or with a prospective client, what
Okay.
are you telling them? Just in a brief, like a short kind of synopsis.
Well, my approach is usually to flip that and ask what's going on in your workplace or what's going on in if you're an entrepreneur in your business. I
Mhm.
like to hear what is going on in their world first and
Yep,
then see if there is some way that I can help them or someone I can introduce them to.
got it. Okay. Okay.
And my best question is, what's different since the last time we talked?
Got it. So, right, but that's a question with someone you've already had a conversation with.
That's right.
Right. So, I I would have you ever recorded those conversations?
I haven't. And I wrote that down as an action item to try and
Yeah.
transcribe it and feed it into my chat GPT.
Yeah, I think that would be really beneficial because I I'll be honest, I am still not entirely clear on what you do and what the outcome is. Um, Getting joy and clarity is again, it's really concise, but um it's not so it's vague. It's not
Okay.
so specific that I can self opt out or self opt in.
Okay.
And that I know that this is for me, this is not for me. Um, and so I would want to like think through what that language is for you and for your clients. And if
Okay.
you've got an opportunity again to interview your clients, this is really for everyone on here. This is one of the best ways to create language that attracts the right person is by taking clients, if you already have clients or customers, and saying, can you just talk to me? Let me buy you coffee, or if you've got 20 minutes, and just tell me specifically the stories of what happened. And I like the idea, and I use this a lot in my work of asking people to tell me stories instead of listing benefits or features or tell me what I did for you. Tell me the storyline of where you started and what was happening in your business before we met or before we started working together and what happened when we started working together and what's going on now. Give me that storyline because people connect to stories. They don't connect to features and benefits. They don't connect to, even having like a cohesive and productive team. It's like, okay, that's great, but what does that mean? they connect to storylines. And the more that you can tell stories, and it doesn't matter what industry or where you're in, your language might change because of your industry or providing professional services versus a product versus a consumer good or a consumer service. Your language might change, but everyone who is choosing to buy from you is a human, and humans want storylines and they want connection, even if it's a professional connection. And so I think sometimes when we're in our professional brain and we're providing B2B services, it can feel like, oh, I don't want to share stories or get too personal or like, and yes, there's absolutely a line and then you've got to be comfortable, but where you can provide stories and connection and get personal is how your um, were feeling, how they felt working with you, and what that storyline is of where things are now. And come at, B2B solutions and B2B products from that angle of let's tell these stories, and help our future clients understand what what their what their storyline could look like so that they can see themselves, and they're either going to see themselves in it or they're not. And that's exactly what you want. You are not for everyone. In fact, you are not for most people. You want a very specific group of customers and clients that are going to drive your business and give you the joy of working with the right people, because I'm sure everyone on here knows the pain of working with the wrong people. And we want to filter those out as quickly as possible. I hope that helped. Tiffany, I think it would be interesting for me to see what your website looks like, to be able to give you a little bit more specific feedback on that. Okay.
Well, thank you for that, Sam. But
Yeah,
the trick is, uh, for me, oftentimes I'm brought in for sensitive or confidential issues.
yep,
And so but I see your point though, that I can push and reframe a bit more with clients about what we can share in a
yeah,
safe way. Like you're not going to say, "Oh my gosh, our team was an absolute, crap." By the end of
absolutely,
it, we were more aligned. So there's ways
absolutely.
to frame it.
Yeah, and I could also say and suggest, if you're someone who's dealing with sensitive information or information that requires an NDA, there is an opportunity. Actually, I love this. This is a good one that a lot of people probably know. There is on Instagram and TikTok, there is a lawyer, and I don't remember his name, but he's a divorce lawyer.
Okay.
And talk about NDAs, like he can't talk about anything specific, but
Mhm.
he has found a way to talk about situations and experiences that do not specifically call out clients
Mhm.
or things that are specifically covered by NDAs, and yet is able to tell a story that is so personal, that it touches you and what you're listening to. And he's all over social media, and I cannot remember his name, but it is a
Yeah.
really incredible lesson in taking sensitive information and still sharing the emotional connection and while maintaining your professional obligations.
Okay. Thank you.
And if I find him, I'll share him.
Okay. No worries.
I don't follow him or anything, but he shows up on my feed every once in a while, and I'm just like, man, you're doing a good job sharing the tea without sharing the tea. Um, okay, I've got a bunch of these, and I would really like to go through them, but I also want to give you guys some, I want to give you guys my documents and kind of share this. So let me do that, and I'm gonna kind of get you guys set up on using and how to use these documents to create this ICP and create the language. And then I can continue going through these notes. You guys have, I love the interaction. I really appreciate it. And I love doing this. So that's why I'm getting sidetracked on my presentation. So I hope it's valuable. But just real quick, touch points. I want to just go over touch points real quick. Those can include content, conversations, emails, events, spaces, meaning markets or your in-person, how people are interacting with you in person, and then your follow-ups, not just you following up particularly in, specifically, but if you've got people on your team who are following up, who are interacting with clients day to day, if you've got emails that are in an automation sequence, what that looks like and how that works. It's really every single touch point. And it's not that you are going to do all of these all the time, but when you have those touch points, it's about making them consistent and focused and prioritizing quality over quantity and focusing on being aligned with your ideal client and who you want to work with. Um, and I would argue for anyone who is sitting this week and thinking, gosh, I really need to post something or I really need to get something on in an email and and you're running down like the guilt funnel of not posting enough or commenting enough or sending enough emails or doing those things. If you're sitting there, excuse me, my suggestion for you is to ditch that guilt and to, instead of doing any content this week, to spend time developing the ICP, developing your language and who you're talking to and how you're talking to them, so that next week and going forward from that, you know what you're posting and who you're posting for, whether regardless of what that post or touch point is. Okay. So in touch points, there's three different touch points. There's trust builders, there's clarity builders, and there's conversion builders. So trust builders is you're making them feel understood. Do you get me? And if you're in social media, that is primarily where your reels live. If you're on Instagram, or your content that is just, this is what I am, this is who I serve content, and you're making them feel good and feel understood. If you're sending emails, it's like how, it's my examples here. Um, Content is, so here's some examples. You're not lazy, you're overloaded. Being capable is not the same as being supported. You didn't lose momentum, your business outgrew itself, or its systems. Um, Email subjects might be like, this might feel uncomfortably familiar. Tiffany, that would be a great email subject for you. This might feel uncomfortably familiar. Also with, was it Matthew? Matthew, if you send out emails, I know it's B2B, but this might feel uncomfortably familiar. And go into this story about a client before they hired you. Name the frustration, name what they haven't been able to say out loud. Conversations, like if you're having conversations with people, if you're out in the community at events, thinking like, most people I talk to feel stuck right here, and whatever here is, whatever right here is. Um, Making sure people feel supported and using language like you're not behind, you're early in the process, or, you know, we can, it's not about motivation, or it's not about, you might have picked the wrong thing, but that's okay because we all make choices and we can make new choices, reframing decisions and reframing why they should know and trust you. Um, Sharing behind the scenes struggles and asking a reflective question. So asking about how they feel, asking about where they were when X happened, or what happened for this thing to go wrong in their business or in their life, without having a call to action, without saying, oh, gosh, like tell me where it went wrong and let's book a call so that I can jump on the call with you and tell you all the ways I'm going to fix you. Just ask reflective questions and see what you get back, whether it's in person, whether it's in email, whether it's on social, whatever that looks like. Clarity building. So now you're helping them understand the problem solution. So you've met someone, you've connected with them. There's an interest there of how of you. You've made the decision in your decision tree that this might be a person who might be a right fit for your business. And now you're trying to help them understand their problem in relationship to your solution. And they need to have the question answered, can you help me? And then there's the conversion builders. So this is where you actually make the sale, inviting them to the next steps. What do I do now? And I want to point this out. These are not always three different conversations or three different emails. Or three different pieces of content. Sometimes they are blended into one, especially in conversations. When you get onto a call with a prospective client, you're spending time in that sales call building trust, then bringing a solution in relationship to their problem, and then telling them about next steps, not waiting for them to ask about next steps. Because if you wait for them to ask, oftentimes they're not going to ask. But invite them to the next steps. If you've had this conversation of, this is how I approach the problem that you have, this is how I solve the problem you have, this is what we can do for you. Let's set up the next call. Invite them to whatever the next step is, give them a proposal. Send them an invoice, whatever that looks like in your conversation. Okay. I have this case study, but I feel like it might be more beneficial for me to answer questions than to go over this case study. Because I don't have a lot of time left and you guys gave me a lot of information and I want to be helpful to you more than I want to share my story. So if there's time at the end, I will tell you about the ICP that I built for Andrea. But the thing I want to kind of drive home is that this is a loop. This isn't like I've done it once and I don't need to do it again. This is about creating those touch points that are going to build community, that then give you opportunities to make offers, that then give you feedback. So I feel like a lot of you are in the place where you can ask for feedback and get feedback from customers. And then you refine that ICP. And your revenue is going to grow when your customers feel known before they feel sold to. And it's really important to remember that. We want the sale. Everyone wants the sale. But when we come at it from a place of understanding if what we have is the right fit for them and are they the right fit for us, it's going to be a more authentic sale. It's going to be stronger. It's going to last longer and you're going to have a better relationship. And it is okay to say no. Okay, there we go. So now we're going to build, I don't want to stare at myself. So I'm going to move back to that screen. All right, I'm going to drop this ICP into the chat. Okay. So excuse me. Uh, this is an ICP. This is an ideal client profile that I designed specifically to be able to build out in social media. Or not social media, excuse me, AI, not social media. So let me change my screen share to, let's see. Can you guys see the ICP? Yes. Okay, cool. Um, please don't make notes in this document. Make a copy. You can make a copy by going up to File and make a copy, and then you have it. It's yours. Um, and like Riley just put in here, it is going to be in the follow-up email. So if you don't have time to jump into it, um, this starts out asking you questions about your product, your service, who you're currently selling to, all the basic stuff that is that basic demographic, ideal profile kind of thing. Who who's buying it? How is it priced? Um, this step one is what you're going to sit down and you're going to type in. You're going to fill this in. You're going to answer these questions with as much detail as you possibly can. Even if it feels like you're giving too much or maybe there's variability, whatever that looks like, you're going to drop that in. So once you've done that, excuse me, you are going to copy that and go into Chat GPT or whatever your AI tool is. And you're going to copy that into Chat GPT, and you are then going to copy the next section and ask Chat GPT to give you these next questions. And it's going to give you a persona. It's going to give you all of this information, and tell you about this person. Now, what I want to say in here that is not on this document that we've been talking a lot about is doing those client interviews and doing either client interviews where you can record. And I think somebody asked about telling them that you're recording, and you do need to tell them you're recording. But getting transcripts of client interviews, getting reviews, whether someone sends you a video or a written review, get those pieces from as many clients as you can, ideally two or three if that's possible. You can add more to this down the line. And when you paste these answers, these step one answers into the chat, also paste your testimonials and your stories and your interviews. If you can do that and then ask chat to create your demographic profile in step two and give you a persona, you are going to get so much more specific and defined. And if you don't have reviews yet, if you can't do client interviews, that's fine. Um, if you are able to jump on your voice memo and essentially like talk a love letter to your dream client. I think a couple months ago I wrote a Substack, and my Substack was titled like it was like a love letter to my dream client. And it was really me talking through who I want to work with and sharing all the pieces. And then I use that um, figure out who I'm talking to. So you're gonna do that. When you get that information, you're gonna, and it gives you the instructions in here, but you're gonna put this into a document and you're gonna edit it. So I don't want you to just blindly rely on what AI is doing for you, but I want you to take what it's doing because it's gonna write that in about 30 seconds, where it's gonna take you at least an hour. And I want you to drop it into a Word document and I want you to edit it. And then I want you to take what is edited, what you're really excited and proud of, and go to the next step. And you're going to copy the demographic info from step two that you've edited, and you're going to then ask it to give all of this other information. And you're going to get so specific. politics, music, entertainment, guilty pleasures. And I want to point out that it's not that every one of your customers are going to fall exactly in this box. There's going to be outliers, and there's going to be people potentially in different stages of life or of decision making, who are going to need different levels of your service or your product. But when the more specific you get, the better you are going to be at filtering out who your ideal client is, and you are going to start attracting more people. Um, and so you go through this whole document and you continue for each step editing what ChatGPT gives you and then reintroducing the edited version back into ChatGPT and asking it for the next piece. Um, and it goes through pain points and emotional triggers. So when we're talking about, when you're telling me who your ideal client is, why they work with you and why they're hesitant to work with you, and why they stay with you, these pain points or emotional triggers is the language that you want to use when you're talking about why someone hesitates to work with you and who your client is. When you're sharing that information, this is going to help give you the language that is specific and clear, and that is going to attract and make somebody think, like, put themselves in your current client's position, or your current customer's position of, oh, this is where I want to be, or I have felt that pain point. When I talk about that, so Local Roots, I'm going to touch on this for real quick. Local Roots is the business that I bought, or that I sold, that I built and sold. And it was a meal delivery company. And that sounds great, meal delivery service. However, here's what I really do. Local Roots was a meal prep and delivery company delivered in 90% reusable packaging that was meals were pre-prepped, ready to, oh gosh, I've even forgotten my I've forgotten my elevator speech. But they were pre-prepped on the table in 30 minutes or less. So it was very specific. They're pre-prepped, they're on the table in 30 minutes or less, they're delivered in 90% reusable packaging. The majority of my clients were mothers with dual income households with kids under 10. Yes, I fed kids. Yes, I fed men. Yes, I fed families. Really, at the end of the day, I fed mothers. And Andrea was my avatar, was my ICP. And I knew all her politics, all her music, all her fears, all where she is, the struggles she feels as a mom, all of that. And every single time I wrote content or shared language or spoke to people, Andrea was at the forefront of who I was talking to. Every email was addressed to Andrea. Now, Andrea also happens to be a real person that I expanded my ICP on, but it gave me that language to be able to get really specific. And this is the document that I used to build that. Now, once you do that, what on earth do you do with it? This one, and I'm also going to drop in, and you'll also get an email on this one, is a 90-day content plan. And it talks and it walks you through step by step. And again, save this, make a copy, and asks you to fill out this information. Think about what your primary offer is. Think about what you're trying to protect for your clients, what their biggest fears are right now, what their biggest outcomes. And then you go through and create content themes. And these are the same themes that you're going to use regardless of where you are marketing, whether it's in conversation, networking, email, social media, it doesn't matter. You are going to pick a channel. If you are trying to post on 5 different channels or 4 different channels and you are failing, let's stop posting on those channels. Pick one. When they have multiple fears, you're going to have you have multiple opportunities for talking about the fears. Um, and it's okay to have two or three fears. But I want you to think of a 90-day plan as like a story arc. It's a storyline. And when we think about that storyline, I'm going to move down to here. In the first month of your 90 days, you're building awareness and trust. You're focusing on the things that say, I see you, regardless of where it is. In the second month, you're building education and authority. You're helping them understand that you can help them. And then in month 3, you're inviting and you're building a momentum. Here's your next steps. And you're going to repeat this every 90 days. And so in this particular map, I built out what essentially is an email content plan for a weekly email of what you're doing each week that is building trust and awareness, then moving into education and authority, and then writing invitation and momentum. And if you have an email list and can create this in an email, you then have the topics that you talk about in social media. If Instagram is your jam, you're jumping onto Instagram and you are talking about the same thing that you talked about in your email. And that's like, Sam, I'm getting repetitive and this sounds boring. And that's the whole point. Most people are not who read your emails are not seeing you on social or not seeing you at networking events, or there's this whole spectrum. And it feels like all you're doing is talking about the same thing over and over again. But the reality is, you are talking to different people over and over again, and you just got to keep rolling with that and do it as much as possible. Okay. I have talked a lot. It's after 10. And
Happens.
I really appreciate you all, especially everyone who's thank you so much for staying on here, giving me information. Um, I I don't want to take up more time because I know we're hitting past it, Riley, but I would love to copy some of the comments that I didn't get to, and maybe I could write a response to them and send it to you to go in an email or something.
Yeah, I'll send you the entire chat, Samantha,
Okay.
so you have it. And
Okay.
then you can respond. So also, I'm going to be sending out the recording of this to everybody, so you have it. It's also going to go up on our YouTube, so folks can reference it. You'll get a copy of each of these links that Samantha sent out to folks via the chat. We'll have some more information for you all. I put up that we're hosting an event. It's our co-work day, our first co-work day of 2026. It's an opportunity for you to co-work in a fun, beautiful space with other founders and entrepreneurs, to connect with the OEN team. So both Yalda and Kara will have office hours during that time, and then Samantha will be there on hand. So if you want to connect with her one-on-one during that day, she's also going to be hosting our noon program, which ties in perfectly with what she just provided to us as a community. So we're really appreciative of you and your thought leadership. This has been really a great opportunity for our community. And Sam, will you be there all day, or will you might just be there in the morning, or are you going to be?
I think I'll be there all day. And
Okay.
I was gonna say if anybody who wants to show up who starts working on this and gets overwhelmed or wants to review it, I am absolutely happy to go through it with anyone
Awesome.
one-on-one.
That's an incredible gift. Thank you very much. So we'll be sending out more information this afternoon, so you all have it. And please reach out if you need anything from us and the team. And we appreciate you spending your Wednesday morning with us. So thanks again, everybody. Hopefully you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah and Riley.